World War II was one of the biggest wars ever. You probably know about Germany and Hitler, but how often do you hear about the U.S. on homeland? All you hear about is what happened over in Europe, but today we are going to talk to the U.S. back home. Let's start with the World War I and the Treaty of Versailles.
During World War I, the main countries that fought in it were Britain, France, Russia, Italy, and the United States. These countries fought against the Central Power, which included Germany, Austria-Hungary, Ottoman Empire, and Bulgaria. The Treaty of Versailles was the treaty that ended World War I. It took away a lot of Germany's land. It also stated that Germany cannot build up their army. The treaty was held without Germany, so they did not have to save for anything. The treaty was supposed to prevent anyone from starting another world war, but this did not work because about 20 years later, World War II started.
The leader at the time was President Franklin D. Roosevelt. He served 4 terms as the President of the United States, but only served 12 because he died of a serial hemorrhage. Next up is General George Patton. General Patton became one of the most important generals because of his skills in the Olympics. He represented the U.S. when he was 26 years old, and he did well in the multi-event sport. It consisted of pistol shooting from 25 meters, sword fencing, and a 300-meter freestyle swim, an 800-meter horseback riding, and a 4-kilometer cross-country run. Last but not least, General Dwight David Eisenhower. General Eisenhower was promoted over and over again while he was in the military. His smart tactical plans and strategies got him far up the chain of command. In 1945, General Eisenhower was appointed U.S. Army Chief of Staff. He became the first Supreme Allied Commander of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization in 1951. In 1952, he was elected U.S. President. He served 2 terms before retiring to Gettysburg in 1961.
World War II started in 1939, but the U.S. did not join until 1941 with the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor was a military base on Hawaii. It was attacked in 1941 by the Japanese. The Japanese surprise attacked the U.S. and the Americans suffered heavy losses. The total U.S. status after the battle consisted of 2,500 casualties, 18 destroyed or damaged ships, 300 planes destroyed, and over 2,000 wounded. The attack on Pearl Harbor was devastating.
D-Day was the biggest military operation ever carried out in the world. D-Day had 3 countries working together to land on the Normandy beach. Those countries are the U.S., Canada, and Britain. June 6, 1944 was the landing that included over 5,000 ships, 11,000 airplanes, and over 150,000 servicemen. After years of careful planning and almost endless training for the Allied forces, it all came down to this. The boat ramp goes down, then jump, swim, run, and crawl to the cliffs. Many of the men weren't even 20 years old. They entered the beach while carrying 80 pounds of equipment. They faced over 200 yards of beach before any protection. The Allies were outmanned and outgunned, but still got enough men onto the beach head to take the beach.
At first, the U.S. did not want to use propaganda during World War I, but later in the war they became more lean and started to make posters. About halfway through the war, they started to make movies on how bad Germany was. During World War II, the objectives of the U.S. government for the propaganda campaign was recruitment. They were financing the war effort and getting the public behind the war effort. The most common thing found in posters were carelessness, talk, conservation, civil defense, war bonds, victory gardens, woman power, and anti-German and Japanese scenarios, and things like that. It was hard to get victory over the Axis, but with the wholehearted support of all men, women, and children, we gained victory.